Guys, Alex here from LFIS. Thanks for joining me on another episode of our weekly macro overview series. We'll dive straight into today's episode. It's been a very interesting week, and we'll cover some of the major headlines that have occurred over the course of this week. Firstly, in Europe, regarding the Russia-Ukraine tensions, at the start of the week, tensions seemed to be easing as on Monday, Russia's defense ministry announced that the Kremlin would withdraw some of its more than 135,000 troops from the border. This resulted in an initial recovery across global markets. For example, on Monday, the S&P climbed more than 1.3% between Monday open and Tuesday close. However, from Thursday, the S&P fell more than 2% as tensions worsened over the credibility of Russia's withdrawal claims. By Friday, Biden said that he was convinced that Putin is planning to invade Ukraine, adding to the downside movement across global markets. And Boris Johnson followed with an announcement on Saturday that evidence pointed to Russia planning the largest invasion of Europe since the end of World War II. Viktor Krenin, the head of the Ministry of Defense for Belarus, has attributed rising tensions to NATO's support for Ukraine and recent deployments in neighbouring countries, which he believes poses a threat to Russia and Belarus. Relating to Russia-Ukraine tensions, Italy has unveiled an €8 billion energy package plan to target rising energy costs. These pending plans are particularly important for Italy given its high dependency on gas. Prime Minister Draghi has highlighted this as well as pointed to potential threats to the economic recovery of Italy if sanctions were to be placed on Russia in the event of an invasion. €6 billion will be used to target lower energy bills for some of Italy's poorest, and more than €1.8 billion will be set aside to assist the transition into more energy-efficient engines in Italy's automotive industry. Over in the US retail activity increased by 3.8% in January, a faster than expected rebound from December's disappointing consumer activity levels, trumping market expectations of only 2%. The key drivers of increasing consumer activity were car sales, which grew by 5.7%, and e-commerce sales, which increased by nearly 15% compared to December. Last week, we covered the fall in long-term consumer sentiment and record inflation. Consumer prices increased by 0.6% in January from December, and 7.5% in the 12 months leading up to January, a 40-year high. The last time that inflation exceeded 7.5% was in the early 1980s, following a rise in consumer prices caused by oil shortages. This resulted in consumer activity flattening for a number of years during the disinflationary period. It's raining quite heavily in the back, sorry about the background noise. Positive retail data was paired with promising US home sales data, which showed a 6.7% monthly increase in January to 6.5 million units sold, and 22% of these home buyers were said to be investors. This increase in demand has contributed to a 15.4% increase in median house prices year on year. The increase beat economists' expectations, which forecasted a 1% fall in January to 6.1 million units. Namely, drivers of the increase in home buying are low borrowing costs, a strengthening US labour market, and increasing household savings. These demand-side factors have outstripped supply. Over in Asia, this week the United Arab Emirates and India agreed to sign a bilateral trade agreement, which is expected to double non-oil trade to $100 billion US dollars within 5 years of the agreement, and it seeks to remove over 80% of tariffs on products and services between the two nations. The agreement is expected to add $9 billion to UAE's GDP by 2030 and increase the workforce with 140,000 additional skilled jobs. Signing this agreement is a huge success for India, as it has been looking for several bilateral trade agreements since quitting the Pan-Asian Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, or RCEP. India is close to finalising a trade agreement with Australia and has begun talks to sign an agreement with the UK. And the UAE also benefits from this agreement as it seeks to diversify away from an economy which is dependent on oil. It's also aiming to sign comprehensive economic partnerships with both Israel and Indonesia. This week in Japan, the Japanese government reported economic growth to increase the economy to grow by 5.4% following the easing of COVID restrictions, which led to a rise in consumer spending, which accounts for more than half of Japan's total GDP. This number was relatively in line with economists' estimates, which were pointing to economic growth at 5.8%. Consumer spending increased by 2.7% as restaurant and entertainment as well as travel sectors improved significantly due to low rates of COVID-19 infections and easing COVID restrictions. Moreover, the government lifted a state of emergency, which made workers come back to the workplace, and a revival in lunchtime, which led to a revival in lunchtime and post-work dining. Exports experienced an increase of 1%, and semiconductor shortages and supply disruptions have improved, which have contributed to a 9.7% increase in consumer durable spending. However, Tomohiko Kozawa, an economist at the Japan Research Institute, believes rising Omicron cases, surging energy prices, and surging food prices pose a threat that can dampen Japan's post-pandemic economic recovery. And there we have it for this week. Diving straight into the questions for the week. US consumer activity data highlights the recovery phase that the US is currently in. Do you believe that March is the right time to begin a steady rate increase? If not, would you argue in favour of an acceleration or postponement in rate hikes? What other factors other than consumer activity are you considering? Do open up some dialogue in the comment section, and either myself or a fellow viewer will open up or respond to your opinion. Do have a great week, and we'll see you in our next episode. Bye.